Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, has faced a multitude of legal challenges that threaten both his legacy and his political future, with shocking allegations ranging from financial fraud to election interference and incitement of violence during the January 6th Capitol riot. Investigations into his business dealings by the New York Attorney General and Manhattan District Attorney's Office have uncovered potential tax evasion, where Trump allegedly inflated property values to secure loans and deflated them to lower tax payments, raising concerns about whether the Trump Organization could face severe penalties or even dissolution. Meanwhile, his attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results, most notably his phone call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, in which he pressured him to find votes, has ignited accusations of election interference and possible conspiracy under both state and federal laws. These efforts, alongside his speech prior to the January 6th Capitol attack, have led to questions of whether Trump's rhetoric directly contributed to the violent insurrection, sparking an investigation into whether he incited an insurrection, a charge that could lead to severe criminal penalties, including disqualification from future public office under the 14th Amendment. As these investigations unfold, the legal implications for Trump are profound, as any conviction could not only tarnish his reputation, but potentially bar him from running in the 2024 presidential election, undermining his political career and ability to maintain influence within the Republican Party. The media's role in covering these allegations has been polarizing, with Trump's supporters accusing outlets of bias, while critics argue that his actions should not be dismissed or ignored, leading to a deeply divided public perception. As the country braces for what could be a historic legal battle, the stakes are high, not just for Trump, but for the future of American democracy itself. Will Trump's legal woes lead to his downfall, or will his ability to survive these challenges only solidify his influence over the Republican Party? As new revelations emerge, the outcome of these allegations could reshape not just Trump's fate, but the future political landscape of the United States, as Americans are left to decide whether the law will ultimately hold him accountable for his actions, or whether his loyal base will shield him from the consequences of his alleged wrongdoings. The question remains, what happens next, and will history view this moment as a turning point in Trump's controversial journey? One of the earliest and most explosive allegations against Donald Trump centered on his business dealings through a combination of investigative journalism and legal challenges. It was revealed that Trump's company, the Trump Organization, may have engaged in financial misconduct that could include tax evasion and misrepresentation of asset values. In a bombshell report by the New York Times, Trump's tax returns were leaked, showing that in 2016 and 2017, he paid just $750 in federal income taxes each year, an amount that seems shockingly low, especially for someone who, at the time, was a billionaire businessman and the President of the United States. These revelations sparked immediate public outcry, with critics claiming that Trump used legal loopholes and possibly engaged in fraudulent practices to avoid paying taxes. In the state of New York, an investigation led by the New York Attorney General Letitia James began to uncover a web of questionable financial practices. Trump allegedly inflated the values of his assets to secure loans and deflated them to avoid paying taxes. This sort of financial fraud can have serious consequences for both the individuals involved and the corporations behind it. It raises questions about the integrity of Trump's wealth and how far he may have gone to avoid financial responsibility. But this investigation is not just about tax evasion. It involves a much broader examination of the way Trump and his company have done business for decades. Business misrepresentation can carry severe consequences, both civil and criminal. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office launched a probe into whether Trump and his organization committed financial crimes like falsifying business records, grand larceny, or even money laundering. Trump's defenders argue that this is a witch hunt, a politically motivated attempt to tear him down, but the legal implications of these allegations are massive. If the evidence of fraudulent business practices is strong enough, Trump could face both financial penalties and possible jail time. The political ramifications could be even more severe. Election interference and the Georgia phone call. Another layer of the allegations surrounding Trump involves his actions during the 2020 presidential election. Despite losing to Joe Biden, Trump and many of his allies refused to accept the results, instead pushing an unfounded narrative of a stolen election. This led to numerous legal battles across the country and attempts to overturn election results in key battleground states. But the most significant controversy revolves around a phone call he made to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. In this now infamous phone call, Trump urged Raffensperger to find enough votes to overturn Biden's victory in Georgia, a state where Trump lost by a narrow margin. This call raised serious legal questions about whether Trump was attempting to interfere with the election process, an act that could violate multiple federal and state laws. The conversation, which was recorded and later made public, is central to the investigation into election interference. The legal issue here isn't just about Trump's rhetoric, but whether his actions constituted conspiracy to defraud the United States government and violate Georgia's election laws. This investigation has prompted some to question whether Trump's behavior could qualify as criminal under federal law, possibly opening the door to charges related to election fraud or conspiracy. The potential legal fallout from this phone call is significant. If Trump is convicted of attempting to illegally alter the outcome of the election, it could set a dangerous precedent and have profound consequences for his political career. Trump's critics argue that such behavior represents a fundamental attack on democracy itself, and they believe it is essential that the full weight of the law be brought down on anyone involved in such actions. Incitement of the January 6th Capitol riot. Perhaps the most high-profile and impactful of all the allegations against Trump is his involvement in the January 6th Capitol riot. As Trump's supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to halt the certification of the 2020 election results, many people, including politicians, lawmakers, and legal experts, pointed to Trump's inflammatory rhetoric leading up to that day as a potential trigger for the violence. Trump's speech at the Save America rally, which directly preceded the attack, included remarks encouraging his followers to fight like hell and never give up in their efforts to prevent the election certification. The question remains, did Trump incite the insurrection? The legal case here hinges on whether Trump's words amounted to incitement of violence. This is a high-stakes legal battle that could have dire consequences for Trump, especially if it leads to criminal charges. The House Select Committee on the January 6th attack investigated the events surrounding the insurrection, and Trump's involvement has been under intense scrutiny. Some legal scholars argue that his language clearly crossed the line into incitement, while others defend his right to free speech, claiming that he did not directly instruct anyone to engage in violence. In any case, the legal implications are grave. If Trump were to be charged and convicted of inciting an insurrection, it would not only be a massive blow to his personal reputation, but could also disqualify him from holding public office in the future. The 14th Amendment bans anyone who has engaged in insurrection or rebellion from ever serving as president again. Therefore, if the legal system were to determine that Trump's actions on January 6th constituted incitement, he could be barred from running for office in 2024, ending any hopes of returning to the White House. Trump political legacy and 2024 election. As these investigations and legal battles unfold, one of the most critical questions is, how will all of this affect Trump's political future? Despite the ongoing legal issues, Trump remains a deeply influential figure within the Republican Party. His base, loyal and unwavering, continues to rally behind him, but the growing number of allegations against him could seriously challenge his political clout. A significant portion of the American public already questions his ability to lead again, and these legal battles only add to the uncertainty. Looking ahead to the 2024 presidential election, Trump's involvement in these scandals could severely impact his chances. If convicted, Trump could face criminal penalties that disqualify him from running. Even without convictions, the cloud of legal issues surrounding him may deter some voters who are critical of his leadership and exhausted by the endless controversies. However, the situation is not as simple as it may seem. His loyal supporters, many of whom view him as a victim of political persecution, are unlikely to abandon him anytime soon. Trump's ability to rally his base could make him a powerful contender, even in the face of legal adversity. For the Republican Party, Trump's legal battles present a dilemma. While his support base is formidable, the party's future may depend on whether they can move beyond his controversial leadership. Potential challengers like Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz, or Nikki Haley could seek to rise in prominence, offering a different vision for the party. The 2024 primaries could thus become a battleground not just for the presidency, but for the soul of the Republican Party itself. Conclusion: what happens next? As we continue to monitor these allegations and investigations, the outcome remains uncertain. Trump's legal challenges could either cripple his future or reinforce his status as the central figure of the Republican Party. No matter the outcome, the consequences of these legal issues will shape the 2024 election, his political legacy, and the future of American democracy. Will Trump's political career be derailed by these